Commission here. Real quick, I'm Chairperson Mayor Zach Verwink.
Commission member Shane Burkhardt.
Lee Tall, Commission member.
Thad Kubaschek, Commission member, City Council representative.
Sue Wesley, Commission member.
Adam Tagan, Community Development Director.
Tom Realm, District 4 Alderman.
All right. Item number 1 is approval of the reports from the June 4th, 2018, June 19th, 2018, and July 17th, 2018 Planning Commission meetings. Commissioners, what are your wishes regarding those reports?
Motion to approve.
A motion by Tao, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Wesley. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Item 2 is maps and plats received. Item A is the PERCHOT CSM. The applicant is requesting a certified survey map approval for the reconfiguration of 2 parcels and the dedication of property as public road right-of-way. The subject properties are located at 1940 Lincoln Avenue and 472 Miller Avenue. Adam?
All right, yeah, a series of CSMs, all of them are before you because they, when they were reviewed and compared to our official map, all of them were adjacent to roadways that were substandard, so they are all requiring some sort of dedication of right-of-way to be compliant with the official map. In this case, there is a home, kind of where it says lot 24. They are looking to add the back portion where the label lot 1 is to make it a larger lot, and then basically that creates the remnant, which is lot 2, which would have been the entire west half of that block. Miller Avenue is the street that requires the public dedication by our ordinance. When it was reviewed, this actually increases the size of the lot and brings that lot into conformance with our R2 regulations, which is a good thing, and then that lot 2 is oversized as well. So based on that, staff had no additional concerns, so we recommend approval.
Commissioners, any issues or comments, questions on that CSM?
No.
Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Burkhardt, or second? Second. Second by Tao. Any, for the second time, any comments, questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. 2B, Vollert CSM, the applicant is requesting a certified survey map approval for the division of 1 parcel into 2 parcels and the dedication of property as public road right-of-way. Subject property is located at 2210 Baker Street.
All right, somewhat similar. So lot 1 and lot 2 are currently one large lot. It's my understanding the daycare that exists on lot 1 is being sold off or passed over, and then the current owner is keeping the lot 2. Again, when it was compared with our official map, the right-of-way along State Highway 54 was substandard, so it's requiring that 14-foot dedication there, as well as a 5-foot dedication along Saratoga Street on the south. But once again, even after the split, both meet the minimum requirements of our zoning code and staff. The only other comment that has been added already from the initial draft is access control along the State Highway 54 boundary. The state had purchased that access, the access rights there, so that was added to this plat as well. That's kind of what that little, I don't know how you describe that, the little feather marks along the western boundary. So based on that, all city staff recommended approval of this CSM as well.
I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor?
Yes, Don?
But I'm,
Yep.
no problem with it, I just want to make it clear. Which one's for sale?
I think it's just, I believe the current owner, Irv Vollert, is selling the daycare to his daughter or daughter-in-law. So there are no lots that are for sale on the market right
Okay,
now.
because I thought he was going to, maybe that's down the road.
And maybe if he did, it would likely be that lot 2
Oh,
on
yeah,
the south.
well, that's what okay.
Right, because that's
I don't know
currently
about
vacant.
this part, so, yeah.
Makes sense. He's gonna retain lot 2 likely, you said?
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion.
Motion.
A motion by Tao, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Wesley. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, moving to a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. 2C, Polzine CSM. The applicant is requesting certified survey map approval for the combination of two parcels into one and the dedication of property as public road right-of-way. Sub-properties are located at 2820 and 2810 21st Place South. Adam.
All right, so this particular one, you can see the house and the garage. So that homeowner, they recently purchased the northern, what's in later lettering known as Lot 1. They purchased that. Their intent is to expand the existing detached garage to the north. So in order to do that, it's going to cross over that boundary line, so they want to combine the properties. When we reviewed the official map, Grove Avenue is actually an 80-foot right-of-way. It's currently shown as 70, so this will need to be revised to show a 5-foot dedication on Grove Avenue on the north. Other than that, there were no other comments or suggestions, so staff did recommend approval.
I have a question. Do you know if their intent is to potentially survey Lot 1 then and sell it, or is it their intention to retain that lot?
No, they are cleaning it up a little bit, but otherwise it'll just be used as yard. At least that's what the owner has said.
Just kind of surprised, given the nature of that subdivision, that their covenants and things would allow them to do that, but.
And yeah, I'm not aware of the private covenants or restrictions, because those would not be enforced by the state. That would have to be enforced by the other property owners.
Sure. Any other comments, questions from anybody? Otherwise, I could entertain a motion on that one as well.
I move that we approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Wesley, second by Burkhart to approve. Further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. 2D, other maps and plats. Are there no other maps or plats received, Adam?
Correct.
All right. Move on to item number 3, which is discussion on the referral from Alderperson Rayom on section 11.03.03A of the zoning code as it relates to the makeup of the planning commission. This was a referral made at the last council meeting, I believe, right, Tom?
Yep,
Related to the recently adopted zoning code, which, let's see, 11.03.03A, which currently reads, number and appointment. The planning commission shall consist of 7 voting members as follows. The mayor, 1 alderperson, and 5 citizens. The common council shall by a 2/3 vote of its members, elect one of its number to serve. Oh, okay, I'm reading that right. The mayor shall make citizen appointments during the month of April for terms that expire in April, or at any other time of the year if a vacancy occurs during the middle of a term. So, Alderperson Rayom, you want to speak to maybe your referral, and then we can open it up for commission consideration?
Yeah, I haven't had a lot of calls or anything, but I have had a few actually, and people have made comments that they passed them too, so. But wondering why non-residents are on the commission. But also, I think with this number from me, is the parent C in there, is that the number of non-residents could be 2. It says limited to 2, but so it could be 2.
Could be 2,
That'd
yeah.
be 2 of the 7, which
Right.
I think's a little. I think it's too many. A few comments that I've gotten, and the same. In fact, I think most of them said what. They made comments to me, but I think said why anybody that's non-resident is on there. And that has nothing from me or them against the non-residents that own property in the city. It's just that people and myself thought they should be residents.
Sure. I think just to, if my memory serves me correct, and I'll ask Adam to weigh in too, I think 2 points, one of which the previous ordinances didn't limit the number of non-residents, so I think our discussion at this body said, that's probably too liberal to allow something like, and with no limits, especially when, the planning commission is an important commission and all that sort of thing. You know, and so I would just offer that for the commission's recollection on that we did bring it down to 2. And so I'll just kind of leave it at that, I guess. Adam, do you have any further comment on what's been shared or just the rationale for any of that?
Yeah, if I'm remembering the conversation, because this was an item that was specifically discussed by the commission when we were rewriting the code. It was something that was pulled out, and I think there was probably a good 15-20 minute discussion on it. Even from a practical standpoint, I think one of the concerns is planning commission, although glamorous and exciting at all times, it can be difficult to recruit members. So if we have qualified people who are interested in the future of the city and they happen to only own property but not reside, it seemed like, again, trying to make sure we have qualified individuals who are passionate about it. Opening it up at that time was discussed. And then the mayor had noted, because of the way the state law is phrased, and it references citizen, not resident, technically, at any point, it could have been up to 5 non-residents on the commission. So I think the commission wanted to tighten that up while still respecting that ability to have some flexibility. But again, I think that covers the discussion.
I think the other point that I think about is not all that different than what the city has done with residency requirements for its employees over a long period of time, that it seems every year or 2 or 3, we've doubled and tripled the expanse of where people can, some without our doing, some with our doing, of where people can live, you know, and still be a city employee. So I think there's some distinction maybe there to think about in the confines of this. And the other point that I would just make, and I think Attorney Schill mentioned, I don't know, maybe not, that, you know, or maybe it was one of the aldermen, actually Alderperson Blazer, I think, raised the question. We're really an advisory body in many forms now through the rewrite of the zoning code, that there was some last kind of step in the process, decisions made by the commission that are now moved to the council for their decision making. So I would just offer kind of those pieces there. I mean, I personally stand by the 2. What I think more would be concerning, sure, and I think I would echo Adam's point around qualifications and just even the whole point around our residency. So I'd open it up to Commission or Tom if anything further up. Otherwise, the Commission, if there's anything anyone wants to raise. Alderperson Kubitschek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess I can kind of echo Mr. Rayom's telephone calls. I received inquiries on this. Who, I guess I don't even know, who are the members that are not city residents?
Sue and
Both of you guys.
And you both were residents when you were appointed,
Yes.
if I'm not mistaken. Just to,
Yeah, and that was one of the things where, obviously, we don't want to remove anybody hastily type of a thing, but maybe if this was one of the suggestions made, is that after the terms of individuals who aren't city residents, then we put in there that current city or current non-city residents who are serving members of the Plan Commission are exempt, but moving forward, anything after this date, which would be either tonight's date or next month's date or whatever, anyone further must reside in the city of Wisconsin Rapids unless there is a 2/3 vote council override because there's the lack of interest by city residents. Something like that gives the council the ability, because I do know when I talked with Adam in the past and wearing a hat of a zoning administrator at one time, this particular body, there is state statute language that says that the people on this body need to be qualified. It isn't just like on the Parks Commission or most other advisory boards. A little experience in zoning, planning, building construction, or the like, and it doesn't explicitly suggest what the exact specifications are, but needs to have a background. So I can understand that aspect of the lack of a pool of people readily and available. On the other hand, although it is an advisory board, and I acknowledge that, Mr. Mayor, I think that it is a stronger advisory board than most of the commissions and committees that we have, so.
sure, thank you. Other comment, commissioners or anyone else? Doesn't matter. So your point might be that a compromise could be that there would be like a no reappointment subject to their residency status, right?
Correct.
So they would serve their current term and potentially keeping that too, that if half the commission, for example, would turn off because of residency, maybe not quite half, we've got the mayor and the alderperson, well, those are the only two that would be required, by their positions to be residents, so there could be a way to retain both the two number, so that we don't get over a dominance of folks, non-residents, if their residency status changed. I think that
Correct.
would be another protection. Other discussion from
So,
anybody?
does that mean as a current person that then I couldn't be reappointed?
If that language were to be proposed and adopted by the council, that would be the.
And we couldn't find
idea.
another qualified person.
And we couldn't, right.
Well, we don't have people beating down the door.
Oh, yeah, we got one vacancy right now. You do raise a good point, yeah.
So, I guess speaking to the qualifications, as a professional civil engineer, with my whole career working in, buildings and municipalities, I do feel like I do contribute a lot of body of knowledge, and because I live maybe a quarter of a mile into Port Edwards, but still have property and own a business here and work in town, I feel like I still have, this is my vested interest, and that it's really important to me and my livelihood around here, so.
Thank you. Other comments? I think that raises the point, it's like, what are we trying to accomplish, right, by cycling members off? And I think part of it is still balancing that qualifications versus, technically we have 2 vacant seats now, because Joe Terry's a non-voting member of the commission, correct, after we read that?
Yeah, with the new changes, the city engineer is no longer an automatic appointee.
Right.
And actually, he technically is a non-resident as well.
Right, yeah,
But by his position, he was on the commission.
right. Other comments?
Well, yeah, I guess to further this isn't an attack on anybody.
Oh, right.
No,
Yeah.
no.
By no means is it an attack on anybody's credibility or anybody's background. And yeah, it could very well be a point where the mayor is in the position of finding someone for the appointment, and if he can't find somebody, that's what he relays to the council, so.
Sure. So, we just have the item on there for discussion. It certainly can be discussed further we can have the minutes reflect somewhat of the discussion, and then maybe some further discussion at the council meeting per the proposal then, and not without a recommendation or any action by the body, if we feel comfortable with that.
Yeah, just to clarify, if a change, now that the new code is adopted, to change it, it would require basically a new public hearing, publication, notice, just like any other amendment to the zoning code. So it was not something that I did publish tonight, because it was just referral at this point. But if it is a change that is decided to be pursued by the council or this body, it just need to be directed to publish accordingly.
Yeah, I think the minutes should reflect that as well, for everyone's benefit.
Okay.
Would it be safe to say that those individuals could consider showing up to a public hearing that have raised their concern? It'd be nice to hear from them, what gives them concern about the commission? Are they willing to show up? If they're calling multiple aldermen, I would imagine they're that passionate about it, that I would hope they would consider attending a public hearing on a change. If they're asking for an update from either of you, I think that'd be appropriate. Okay, we'll move on to item number 4 then, which is discussion on the second monthly meeting date for consideration of non-public hearing related requests such as site plan, architectural review, or plan of operation. In light of discussion, I'm willing to serve on the planning commission, let's give ourselves another reason, actually why people would want to serve, but, and you want to speak to the request of why this is on our agenda?
Yeah, and first, let me thank you all again for the last 2 years of having a lot of months where you were meeting twice a month. And I know it was a lot of extra time, but with the new procedures and policies that are part of the zoning code, some that jump out is, for example, site plan reviews, the ones I had listed, architectural review, plan of operation. Those are requirements that are non-public hearing items, meaning that they're not published, the neighbors aren't noticed, but there is still a review and approval process by the planning commission. An example that is, let's see, of something like this, let's say that there is a building on a street that is going to be renovated and redesigned. If they're redoing the parking lot or if they're redoing the building, that triggers these type of reviews. And some of those obviously are a little more time sensitive, and if they just miss a meeting schedule, waiting a full month before being able to pull a permit, for example, can be detrimental to a project. If you hear some of the architects and engineers, it's death to a project if they have to wait 30 days. But still, I guess in my mind, I was wondering if the commission would be willing to set basically a secondary date that would only be met on as needed. So if we did get a site plan request that just misses this normal meeting schedule, that would kind of be the secondary date, so that there's only a 2-week delay versus that full month delay. Just trying to remain business friendly while still making sure that the policies and procedures of the code are followed. And rather than trying to set a new date each and every time this happens, if just a one-off pops up and me trying to call all of you and coordinate a date, I just thought maybe if we could set whatever that is, if it's the third Monday of the month or the fourth Monday of the month or whatever it is, something that is consistent, and then obviously you would get a packet if and when there is something like that. So in the perfect world, I would always the emphasis would always be trying to get it on our typical meeting date, which is the first Monday, but as the need arises, just having that as the fallback. So
I feel
just wanted
that's
to throw it
reasonable.
out there.
I think it's reasonable, and I think it's important to have it standing on like our regular Monday or something, because thinking back to our last couple of meetings, it was a little disheartening to me to realize that we were backed up to a common council meeting, we're not able to complete what we had on our agenda, and I can't help but think that
Yep.
something's happened behind the scenes with regard to building permits, and I think that that is very disappointing, because had that gone through on schedule, that would not have been the case, I do not believe. And I think that that's kind of a slap in the face to the hard work that everybody has done here.
So are we, what was the second Tuesday was the Park and Rec?
Yeah, second Tuesday. No, second Monday.
Second Monday, sorry, yeah, right. So that's where the conflict kind of
Yeah,
came in.
that's-
Would these items go before the council? Do they, I mean, in terms of an approval,
No, these are the type of items that the plan commission still is the final authority on.
final authority on, yeah, okay.
So again, it would be the non-public hearing items, so rezonings, conditional uses, those are probably the two big ones, text amendments to the code, those type of things would still be, again, at this meeting to allow that sufficient 2 weeks time basically between the typical plan commission and the council. Because I don't want it to seem like we're trying to force things through.
That's my concern, is if there's any
With those
reporting to the
items.
council have a say. I think
Yep.
if it's more of, we're the body on that, then I feel comfortable going into the third Monday.
Yeah, similar like the CSMs. The CSMs, you guys are the final say. Once these are approved, they can be recorded by the applicant. The council still receives notification of them, but they aren't the approval board for a certified survey map. So, again, it would be similar items like that.
How do we feel
So
about the third?
any one time, and then you only have to wait 2 weeks maximum.
Right, yeah, that's the thought. And again, in honoring all your plan commission times, and quite honestly mine. I mean, I don't want extra night meetings if I don't have to have them either. But yeah, so it would always be trying to push it to that typical one, but to have that secondary fallback. And if there's a time, if you're okay with the 4 o'clock time remaining, or if a different time would work better, again, I won't have that.
My only comment is that we have the ability to take care of the matter we have, and we aren't backed up to another meeting.
Yeah, if we went with the third Monday, which would again be about 2 weeks consistently, I'm not aware of any other meeting. City councils is the third Tuesday of the month.
Is
and
there really any standing meetings? I don't think there's
Yeah,
any
the standing
meetings
committees
that-
are usually the first or the second week on the Tuesdays. Finance and Public Works are the first Tuesdays of the month. HR is the second Friday.
Yeah, something crazy, yeah.
So it wouldn't interfere with that.
Well, and I'm thinking, if we keep the 4 o'clock slot, if there happens to be a night meeting, ours don't, the other ones don't start till 5 or maybe 6. So in order to avoid any sort of bumping up or even the meeting location type stuff, that, you know, we should be flexible after our meetings are over, I would think.
The third Monday should work well.
And again, it's not.
Gives about 2 weeks
Mhm.
each way, so.
And it's certainly something if that becomes an issue conflict-wise, timing-wise, anything like that. But again,
But then again,
Change
it's
pretty
it's not every month, it's as it occurs.
As needed.
Yeah. Okay. Very good.
So I will pencil in the third Monday.
Monday.
4 PM for those type of requests only. And only as needed.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the order, anybody? On that? No? We've been getting that habit with other meetings too, just set the next meeting date for our group here, which would be tentatively October 1st, unless something of the other order happens next Monday. Right? Is there anything in the hopper that would bring this group back together next Monday? Any
No,
reason?
not for the next Monday. October, there are a couple of items expected
Okay,
on that
so we'll
first.
keep our first Monday of the 1st of October as our regular, and then potentially the 15th. And then, which I have something in my, I've got acronyms in my schedule that I don't know what that means, but Jen might be able to tell me on the 15th. But, okay. Very good. Anything else, anybody? Other than that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Got a motion by Kuschak, is there a second? Second by Tal, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Stand adjourned.